Come in, come in. Step out of that howling storm, shake the fading sea mist from your coat, and welcome to this explainer. If you listen closely, just beyond the creaking wood of these floorboards and the relentless battering of the sea against the crumbling stonework, there's a story here. Today, I'll be your keeper. We're going to explore a truly dark maritime legend by examining a text known as the Eternal Vigil, Parables of the Fastnet Phantoms. Let's just dive right into this, because what we're unpacking today isn't your standard run-of-the-mill ghost story. No, it's a profoundly melancholy look at the very nature of duty and how it transforms into a terrifyingly mechanical loop.
Prisoners of their own devotion. Now, you might be expecting a tale of fanged monsters or vengeful spirits hiding in the dark, right? Well, the truth is actually far more insidious. What we're really exploring is the absolute horror of endless, inescapable work. The phantom keepers of Fastnet Rock, they don't haunt this place to terrorize anyone. They haunt it because they simply cannot stop working.
Act 1. Welcome to the Black Cathedral, the clockwork of the familiar.
So, let's step a little deeper into the mechanical heart of this crumbling stone tower to look at our first major theme, which is the total erasure of self through repetition. We need to talk about das Unheimliche, or the uncanny. Basically, this is the terror that arises not from the unknown, but from the known made strangely subverted and horrifyingly mechanical. You see, the Fastnet Lighthouse isn't just a building, it's practically a black cathedral of duty. And the true horror of Fastnet, as the text lays out, is how entirely domestic tasks, cleaning, logging, maintaining, somehow devolve into a terrifying, soulless loop. These phantom keepers aren't monsters, they're just workers.
Just watch how this builds into their daily, eternal reality. Step 1. You polish the brass dulled for a century. Step 2. You log the storm with ink made of seawater. And Step 3. You literally become the function you perform. The absolute crux of the matter here is that the deeply familiar objects of the lighthouse have been completely subverted. The horror really hits you when you realize that duty has become this automated cycle where the human being is utterly, completely erased.
To really wrap our heads around this, the text offers the parable of the perfect servant. Imagine a man who hires a servant so incredibly efficient that he never sleeps, never eats, and never utters a single word. It sounds like the ultimate terrifying ideal of the modern employee, doesn't it? But eventually, this dreadful realization dawns. The servant isn't actually a living person at all. He's just a mere reflection of the master's own habits, stripped of all humanity. And that's the uncanny reality of the Fastnet Phantoms. They mimic life without actually possessing it. They're a permanent staff whose humanity has just been entirely replaced by their function.
Act 2. The weight of the past, moral obligation, and the sacred pact.
Okay, so we're transitioning now from that terrifying mechanical present into the crushing, literally suffocating weight of Victorian morality. Back in this era, your calling was basically your very soul. Just consider this cursed ledger. The Victorian ghost story so often hinges on this concept called the lingering debt. The keepers entered into a sacred, suffocating pact with the ancient gods of the deep. And the consequence? Well, they became prisoners of their own devotion, bound to an eternal, thankless vigil. It's a brilliant illustration of the Victorian idea that the past never truly dies. Secrets, or in this specific case professional obligations, bind the spirit to the physical world forever. These phantoms are just unquiet remnants of their own professional duty.
And the text really cements this idea with the parable of the inherited chain. Imagine a desperate sailor who accepts a golden chain just to survive a raging, howling storm. But his salvation is actually a trap because he finds the chain is bolted to the deck of a ship that never, ever reaches port. This perfectly captures the sheer dread of the Fastnet Phantoms. The lighthouse isn't some beautiful beacon of hope shining through the sea mist. No, it's a monument to a station that becomes an eternal, inescapable burden. We are all, the text suggests, eventually consumed by the very institutions we serve.
Act 3. The translucence of the abyss. The transition to eternal service.
Now, here is exactly where the relentless domesticity of the lighthouse crashes violently into the ancient Gothic dread of the sea. When we smash these two concepts together, the mechanical distortion of the domestic present on one side and the crushing weight of an ancient Gothic past on the other, we create a liminal space at Fastnet Rock, known as Ireland's teardrop. It's this boundary where the line between life and death completely, utterly dissolves into the fading sea mist.
And from that horrific collision emerges a sickening green light, yielding what the text calls a nightmarish mercy. What is truly terrifying about this is what it implies about the Phantom's motives. Like, yes, they do indeed save sailors from the crashing waves, but they absolutely do not save them out of love or pity or any sort of heroism. They save them simply to violently maintain the cycle of their eternal vigil.
Which brings us right to the parable of the mirrored beacon. A lost captain, totally battered by the storm, steers toward a light burning like a dying star. Naturally, he believes it's his salvation. But upon arriving, he finds only a mirror reflecting the black void of the ocean, and as he reaches out to it, his own hands begin to turn pale and translucent. This reveals the text's ultimate horrifying synthesis. Out here, at Fastnet Rock, death isn't a release. Actually, scratch that. Death is merely a promotion.
Because the Black Cathedral is, at its core, a predatory collector of souls. Think about it. Perfect service requires the constant consumption of new souls. The cycle literally must be maintained. The living have to be recruited. And why? To keep the boundary completely intact between the safety of the shore and the howling abyss of the sea. The true creeping horror isn't that the original keepers died. It's that the lighthouse requires fresh bodies to fuel its perfect, unceasing machinery.
Act 4. Your eternal duty awaits. The echo of the Black Cathedral.
And so, the creaking ward settles a bit, and the storm outside seems to pause, just for a brief moment. We really have to bridge this ancient lore back to our modern lives because the echo of the Black Cathedral rings far, far beyond the crumbling stonework of Fastnet Rock. I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. Do you not also polish the brass of your own eternal, thankless vigil? I mean, how different really is this phantom curse from our own modern anxieties about work-life balance? Don't we all harbor a creeping fear of becoming mere functions, of being slowly replaced by the efficient, the mechanical, the non-human? So, as you turn away from this explainer and head back out into the storm of your own daily tasks, ask yourself, are you the master of your duties, or are you merely a prisoner of your own devotion?